All right. Hello and welcome everybody to day 5 of the workshops for the Riyadh 2023 Meta Web3 Builder Competition. My name is Kyle and I will be your host today. Riyadh 2023 is a Web3 summit dedicated to Ethereum and designed to gather developers and builders from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and other Middle East regions. Riyadh aims to provide insights from industry experts and engage in discussions around the future of blockchain. Thank you to the community organizing committee, Therawat Technology, Studio 1727, Chain IDE, Coffee with Crypto, and Mask Network. Riyadh includes the online bootcamp and competition we're having now, which lasts from September 18th through October 10th. The in-person reception and conference on October 10th and 11th, and the online closing mixer on October 12th. Thanks again for joining us for day 5. And just a quick reminder that registration for the competition is still open, and there is a $30,000 total prize pool. We'll be hosting the final day of our workshops tomorrow, and the competition submission deadline will be October 10th. For all of the latest information and updates about Riyadh 2023, please follow 0x on X, formerly Twitter, join the Riyadh Telegram, and visit ethriyadh.com. Before we get started, we'd like to take a moment to thank our event sponsors, Web3 Port and Moon Capital. And now we can jump into day 5. On today's schedule, we have 3 workshops. We're going to be joined by FrostStar, the CTO of Chedao, Bradmoon, the head of blockchain security at MetaTrust Labs, and Arsenii, dev relations at Gnosis Chain. If you have any questions during today's session, please feel free to leave them in the live chat. The team will gather them and they'll put the answers in the Telegram at a later date. So with that said, let's turn it over to FrostStar for the first workshop, Crypts and Carverns.
Hello everyone, it's my great pleasure to share one of our core products with you, Crypts and Carverns. It is working to provide a sense of place in the Lootverse. My name is Frost. I'm the core contributor of Chedao. Our mission is to lower the barrier for both devs and gamers to enter an autonomous world. In order to reach our mission, we have built 3 routes lead to it. The first route is the project I am actually sharing today, Crypts and Carverns. We are going to abstract a common tool for any gaming projects need a map can use our tool. Second route is Chedao itself. It's going to be a gaming studio focused on autonomous world. Lastly, we have AW Research, where we write gaming reviews and build hacker houses all around the world. Back to the days that we thought NFTs are still profile pictures, the emergence of loot makes us realize that NFTs can be more than digital arts. The metadata hidden in the NFTs create the possibilities for creativity. Which means, if we do this well, that art, as we see it now, becomes programmable. So that Lost Realm bitmap you see on the left, which is another set of NFTs, can be combined with a color palette from Crypts and Carverns, or done on-chain to create a new type of art that we haven't seen before. There's a layout data, there's color, there's attributes embedded in this NFT, and it made us realize that an NFT isn't just a visual art that you see. It's a public API, and it can be called by any contractor application. And that was a really big eye-opening moment for us. This means that if we look at all the different things built in the realm, another key project in the Lootverse, in this case, there's a name, there's an order, but there's also regions, there's resources, harbors, rivers, and all of these little concepts Here are a Lego that we can assemble together or compose. Well, now we have these on-chain APIs and we have all this data. What do we need to actually make a game goes beyond this conversation we are having right now. We need 3 high-level things and that almost every other game have. Okay, we need people, we need avatars. You have your wallet right now, maybe you have a profile picture. We are gonna need NPCs, and we have these organizing constructs like orders and guilds where communities come together. We need places to explore. It's great to have a pub or get together and gather to watch a football game or to have a drink. These places give people an area to explore and do things together, and each one has a purpose, whether it's a town or a pub or a dungeon. Finally, we need items, and these could be simple items like in loot. We could also have things to do together like encounters where you can encounter an NPC, you can go on a quest, you can visit this bar and have a drink, all different activities that need to be fleshed out. Thus, our approach has been similar to loot, to build a simple Lego or a component that could then be taken and plugged into a bunch of other projects. You could take one of these little Legos and put a couple of more pieces together. It's one less thing you have to build for your project. That's the high-level motivation, and we started looking around at the great on-chain gaming projects and started to organize them and group them. We have people and a bunch of devs working on an avatar or building NPCs. We have items or different ways to visualize your items or split your items apart and collect them, but we don't have that many places. We have a couple other people working on places, but there's so much to explore, and we are really excited about is giving people a sense of place. Let's look into this piece of atlas from the realm, for example. There's all this implied information here and there. These words can be vague or could be really important. And let's just highlight a couple of points here. Like what happens there? What is the town like? Is it a building? Is it a forest? Is it a mountain? We feel like there's so much of this universe that can be fleshed out. And so that's what we feel excited about working on. That started asking the questions. Where are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Is it going to be a second top-down map like this, where we walk around and we can attack other monsters? Is there going to be a mid-anniversary town square with a thirsty wizard walking around? Is there going to be some 3D environment where we are all jumping and embodied in 3D avatars? Is there going to be some crazy mixture of all of this since I just showed you, and I think the reality is no one knows today. We have no idea whatsoever, but there's something common. They all have a place where you can walk, a place where you can't enter. They have doors, they have walls, they have floors, and that may sound really obvious, but think about when you were to build any of these games. One of the first things you need to figure out is you have got characters. Where can they go? Can they walk around this area? Or can they not? This was a problem that we started to tackle, which is how we define this space and all other places. Especially in a very small scale like this, where you could actually interact with it and imagine walking around this place. Our approach was to start with walls and a floor, just going with the Zelda example. You can see that there's an area where the character can walk. There's little blue lines, which I have highlighted, where you can't walk, but there's also a little special place which is a staircase that takes you to somewhere else. Now, I think you can get a sense of place now. But how can we define this programmatical layout? Where is the floor? Where can I walk? And the laying out, where are the walls? Where can I not walk? You actually start to get to something really simple, like a really simple concept that 1 represents where you can walk and 0 represents the wall. There's a couple extra places that you can lay on top, that we call them entities, for lack of better terms. These are things you can interact with in Crypts and Carverns. For this example, we have chosen to use 2. There's a door you can either enter or exit. You could think of as a portal or step ladder or something like that. Maybe you want that bush in the top right to be something that you can burn down, or you can slash, or you can walk through. And so I've called that a point event, or point of interest, POI. So this is the starting point for Crypts and Carverns. We want to provide a sense of place in the lootverse. And we are doing it by creating really, really simple maps, where we're also calling them dungeon maps. They could be used for probably anything that's a small navigable space or room. It's a 9,000 on-chain dungeon maps. They are generated on-chain. Everything happens on-chain, for better for worse, which means that there's no human input whatsoever, similar to loot. Everything has a random probability, so kind of like a generative art project. And here are 3 examples. We feel that just putting ones and zeros on a screen might not be that exciting to people and gamers. But keep in mind that this is a rendering. It's just something that we chose. Anyone can swap their preferred rendering on top of this. There's walls where you cannot walk. There's a floor where you can walk. There's a door, and the door could be treated by a dev as a portal. It also could be literally a door that blocks your path. Each one we define as the environment. So in this case, the environment is called Desert Oasis. I'll take a bit more about what that means in a second and how we name each map. In this case, this is the Divine Temple. We just want to take the layout, which is the walls and the floors, and delete everything else, and make everything else your own, and you could run with all of it. So the environment which I mentioned, I think it's really helpful to start creating a sense of place. If we think about that realms map, one of the questions I asked was, is it a forest? Is it a mountain? There are concepts in there, but a lot of that is not defined. So we try to define a couple or create a couple different environments that we thought people might find interesting. There's a desert environment. There's a forest. There's an underwater environment. And then Ember's Glow, which is the least common palette. Maybe in a volcano or underground in some kind of lava area. Obviously, we created all of this. You can imagine flashing out the world with lots of others and using totally different ones. But again, we just wanted to start to create a sense of place, that each of these maps has some sort of, feeling or mood into it. And you could start to visualize the landscape, even you are just looking at these little 2D images. Then we started working on names. I think that we could picture these different areas having a story, and you could imagine each of these different maps tying to different areas in the lootverse. So for example, we try to tie in the orders. If there's a dance of twins, but you can definitely create a map of the twins. they do exist on the orders. So I created some of my own. That's something that we are going to work out when we look through the lore and the different canonical lores. Figure out how does that fit in. That's one piece of important advice. Another thing we want to do was to create characters. We don't really have many characters in this lootverse yet. There's avatars, and you can create your own character. This one is Grampstones, and I can probably tell who's that. Inspired by each character is inspired by person, either in the lootverse or out in the broader world. And then the final piece that we want to do was hint at some sort of history of backstory. So I created a small set of what I call legendary places. Legendary don't necessarily mean super rare, even though they happen to be rare in this collection. But the idea that each of these places had a particular event that happened and similar to something like a Camelot. Now, this map that is called Oblivion. That is the entirety of the collection. It's really simple. There's 9,000 generative on-chain dungeon maps. There are walls and floors. There's doors and points of interest. There's desert oasis environment. It's just an example here. There's a bunch of environments and names. And we really hope that people can take that and then plug it into experiences they are building. Whether you decide to call this the Divine Temple of the Stars or they decide to call it something entirely different. We think that the base map layout will be really valuable for devs who are building an autonomous world. Here we want to show some examples what you could do with these maps. One example is you can make text-based games. Here's two different ways if you are building a game. You could render these maps. On the left is a 2D array. If you are doing a true text-based programmatic game, on the right is an ASCII art rendition, a little bit like a NetHack style. These layouts play really well with the text-based games. If you think about making a mod, or you think about making something like a Legend of the Red Dragon, which is a BBS game we used to play long time ago, what they did was they allow people to move around these real maps. You can go left, right, up, down, whatever. And so these layouts are actually perfectly suited for that experience. They can also be used for 2D games. And so this is a prototype. Here we start to lay this map you see on the left, which is the sample map from our project Crypts and Carverns. Then put that into a 2D game. Started to build tile sets. So you can see that there's different areas you can walk. There's different areas that are walled off where you cannot walk. And there's a little treasure points. And there's a little card. I think that a character in the game can maybe collect it, or you can battle with the card. This is an example of a prototype, and you could imagine a bunch of different games can run with this simple layout metadata and make really compelling and interesting experiences. It's very easy to lay additional interactive entities on top of these map structures. Finally, we are very excited to see what the people who are pushing the boundaries graphically can do with these maps. They definitely can serve for at least a kind of like flight 3D games. They can do a really good job with Crypts and Carverns as well. There's a couple other ways you could use these maps. Like you can link and create links between them. There's no reason that a door from the den of the Gale cannot bring you to the Morbid, or that you couldn't create a staircase. And if you really think about it, you can start to link these together in interesting ways and lay on a network of links on top of them. Almost like a graph. Now you have an infinite space of exploration, and you can land people in random dungeons at random places. And you can create a holistic experience where you feel like there's a starting point and an ending point, that you can move through different environments over time. You can also imagine taking a real map. For example, what happens in this blue star location? There's no reason I cannot link that location to this door in that map. Now, when I click that map, or I somehow interact with it, I teleported there. This idea of linking different places together is going to be really powerful over time. A couple of other examples I think are very interesting, but we have not built out prototypes for yet, is the giving, whether it can be an order or a guild, or someone a reward for claiming a dungeon. If they play around your game, they get a take of however much gold or AGLD or whatever the currency is. Somewhere it could be really interesting and give people incentives to hoard or gather these different maps on their end. You can also build generative on-chain encounters. Here's a really simple layout, and then popped some entities on top, like a character or some enemies, and some other items. So these maps are totally capable of supporting that, whether it be a situation like this, or whether each tile is a whole room of its own. That's similar to like a Zelda dungeon. So those are kind of like obvious use cases that you can do for your own projects. There's two other things you can do with Crypts and Carverns. The first is, if you have a project and you want to integrate maps, but you don't feel like these maps suit you, there's actually a contract. One of the contracts in Crypts and Carverns called the Generator contract. You can pass a random seed and you will generate a random map on your own behalf. We think that's going to be more interesting for projects that maybe, our maps are not quite right for you. And say you need, let's say, 10,000 maps, or they only want their maps to be 10 times 10. This is the beauty of an on-chain generator, that you can just crank out an infinite set of random maps. Second, let's say you want to create maps off-chain. Say you are a game designer, you want to add it like tiled or something like that. As long as you follow up our map standard, you can feed in your map and put it on chain. If you follow the standard, it will be interoperable with the Crypts and Carverns projects and any other projects that integrates maps that follow the standard. In conclusion, this is Crypts and Carverns. We are trying to provide a sense of place in loot first, but hopefully we can onboard more autonomous world projects using this map generator. This is our Twitter. If you are interested, you can join and build with us. Even you are not technical background, a lot of the decisions that need to be made are not even technical. There's so much work out there we can do together. And our goal is just to get everyone here to use this tool so that you can start building great games and experiences using our project. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, FrostStar, for that session on Crypts and Caverns. For our next session, we're going to Bradmoon for a workshop called Fast Track Effective Security Analysis with MetaScan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Web3 workshop of the MetaTrust. The theme of this workshop is Fast Track Effective Security Analysis with MetaScan. We are MetaTrust, a blockchain security company specializing in smart contract security. Including auditing and security tool development, our company has a number of tool products, including MetaScan and MetaScot. Today's content teaches how to use MetaScan to conduct rapid smart contract security analysis. Our suite of smart contract security products utilize cutting-edge techniques to detect vulnerabilities and ensure the safety of your decentralized application. For the tools and the research in the recent years and recent relative company, we have multiple methods to detect vulnerabilities and monitoring on the chain. Before the attack, we have fuzzing, symbolic execution, formal verification, and static AST analysis. Also, with the recent years large language model developing, we also have AI method to detect vulnerability. So our MetaTrust implemented all the techniques into one MetaScan with different engine. As for the in the attack, we have on-chain monitoring, attack intercept, scam token, and on-chain fuzzing. Also, MetaTrust has implemented all the methods to detect attack on the chain and detect malicious transaction on the chain. So for the after attack, because there's must be case by case rapid solve the problem, we have no common tools or research in the after attack scenario. The security analyzer performs static analysis from the MetaScan on the smart contract code to identify potential security issues. It contains over 120 detection rules covering common problems like price manipulation, centralization risks, and front running. The engine also includes basic logic vulnerability detection and will soon open source some of its core rule sets. The prover is a symbolic execution engine that thoroughly explores multiple code paths to uncover typical vulnerabilities. It provides an automated way to validate smart contract security. The GPT-Scan AI engine uses logic vulnerability detection rules and natural language processing to identify additional security flaws. You will soon be able to write custom rules to tailor the scan to your need. Discovered issue can then be confirmed using the static analyzer. And we are developing tools to generate spec and invariant by AI. The IP analyzer detects code similarity to uncover potential plagiarism or theft. It helps ensure your intellectual property remains protected. And finally, the open source analyzer allows scanning with common open source tools. This provides a baseline assessment from established smart contract security libraries. With this complete suite, you can thoroughly audit your smart contract, avoiding costly vulnerabilities and protecting your decentralized application. The combination of cutting-edge techniques, automation, and customization provides a robust smart contract security solution. Okay, let me demonstrate the demo. First of all, the interface is divided into three parts. The main one is our scanning interface. The scanning process is very simple. It can be divided into two steps, that is, add project and scan project. When you click add project, there are several different options. We support a variety of code import methods. You can use GitHub identity login, import your private repository from GitHub, like this. So we can see if I interact with my GitHub, we can see all the private repository from my GitHub. And also, if you are authorized to other repository or organization, you can see other repository from the GitHub. In the future, we will also support GitLab and Bitbucket. And of course, we can also scan public repository by entering the repository URL and project title. And you can also upload a zip archive to scan. Now we support multiple variety of smart contract development constructor, including Brownie, Builder, Foundry, Hardhat, Truffle, and Waffle. And if you are not have the relative constructor I mentioned, you can also upload the framework-less Solidity files, which means you can only upload your Solidity contract files and dependency configs. So in the basic data display of the project, if we click into one basic project, we can see the project name, the time-related information of the scan, and the general results of the specific scan. Click one, we can see in addition to the necessary project information, including total issues, is our specific scan result. We can see the type of vulnerability, the affected files, and the corresponding function. And accurate to a certain line, also there's a type of vulnerability and its severity. And of course, the description and the recommendation, which now are common way from our MWE, or reflecting the description and recommendation. In the future, we will also support a specific description and recommendation. Now we support the specific description and recommendation of the possibility of price manipulation vulnerability, which is highly relative to our files affected. And you can also search for vulnerabilities and sort the severity of the vulnerability to show. Like in this input bar, we can search to use address 0 validation. And now we can see the multiple vulnerabilities of missing 0 address check and in the smart contract. In the open source analyzer, we can see if the code base we refer to is secure enough. It can tell you the actual danger point, the secure version, and the latest version, and a detailed description. We will not also support smart contracts vulnerabilities, but also define related price manipulation vulnerabilities and arbitrage vulnerabilities. So as we showed in the Pancake Bunny, the Pancake Bunny was detected in the 2021 and with a price manipulation vulnerability. So we can see in this project, Pancake Bunny, we have scanned 2 critical vulnerabilities in the smart contract and 14 mediums vulnerabilities in a smart contract project. And we can see not only we supported price manipulation, also we support centralized risks. Now the centralized risk is a common risk in a smart contract project. And for the total issue of this project, we can see the 263 issues in this project, not only including the smart contract vulnerabilities, but also including open source analyzer. And also, we not only support security analyzer and open source analyzer, as I've mentioned, we also have an AI analyzer. The AI analyzer now have the 10 rules of smart contract vulnerabilities. In the future, we'll support more rules in the smart contract project. And also we support code quality scanning. The code quality issues is not vulnerabilities which cannot be attacked, but it's more helpful for the developer to check whether their project have been written correctly or clearly. And also for the security prover, we use symbolic engine to scan the vulnerability. But in the start scan interface, you will introduce your engine contract in the interface to tell us to scan the project. And for the scan setting or start scan interface, you can choose the AI boost. The AI boost have two different models to scan with GPT and a large language model. The AI boost fast is a fast boost. We use GPT 3.5. It may take extra 10 minutes to scan the project vulnerabilities. And the AI boost ultra use GPT 4, which may take more than 1 hour to run the scan project vulnerabilities. And also you can have an advanced scan setting. So this is scan setting auto-detected. So in a most condition, you will not supposed or you will not have chance to readjust the advanced scan setting. But there's another thing you need to mention, the ignored files. In smart contract development, we have multiple files we want to miss or just for the test, including node modules, tests, or mock, or open Zeppelin. So if you have other files or any other things you want to ignore for the MetaScan, we will ignore the files, which means it will not included in the smart contracts vulnerability detection result. Return to the main interface. We also, in the top bar, you can create your organization to categorize your project and invite others to the particular organization. In the dashboard, you can have an overview of your history scan items. We can see that we have scanned 102 items from 101 issues with project with issues, and I can classify and count the level of the danger and specific details of the issues. You can also view security trend by engines and security trend by issue severities. Through the dashboard, you can have the comprehensive understanding of the security of your project. On the left side of the project interface, you can filter the current project you have scanned and use it to more easily view the project with a specific requirement. Now is the usage of the MetaScan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bradmoon, for that. So we have one final session for today with Arsenii Pechenkin. And the workshop is titled, How to Build a Startup Out of Your Hackathon Project.
Hi guys again. So today we will talk more about the business stuff, less about technical stuff, because about technical stuff you can find thousands of workshops, courses, etc., etc. So and now we will be talk about something which are hidden in the developer, but in development process. So as you know, my name is Arsenii. I develop relations in Gnosis Builders. I'm in Crypts since 2018, and I previously was founder of 2 startups. So for this reason, I went for all stages, which I will talk in today. So I also alumni of Alchemist Accelerator is like Y Combinator, but for B2B startups, and I also part of few DAOs and won a lot of hackathons. So what we're talking about? So what's a hackathon? Could be useful for build a project. How usually I look on the building project. It's some kind of a summary about experience of a lot of my friends, and articles from YC and lectures and few books. And also we will talk how effective use a hackathon in its conclusion, and we'll try to help you convert your idea of the hackathon to the business idea. So let's start from the reason why the people in general participate in hackathon. Most of people which I met, and I was on more than 100 hackathons, third of these I won. So, and I meet a lot of people all around the world. And most of people I arrived for make some achievement to take some achievement for CV. Spoiler, it's not working. Usually HRs I really don't understand what this hackathon is, how it's working about. Brings rise a reputation. This is the most important point I think. Earn money, bounty style hunting. It's also work partially because from my expertise, when you're traveling to offline hackathon for exactly to Europe or United States, you not earn money because the trip and accommodation cost eat all your prizes. It doesn't matter how much money you won, it will be spoiling of the travel. But it's a good point if you're going as a also to conference. Hackathon is partially work for creating MVP and to be ready to raise a grant or raise an investigation. But it's only depends not only your technical, it's mostly depend on not your technical skills, it's more depend on your soft skills and business skills. Improve network, also very important part. Find a job. To be honest, I never find a job in the hackathons, but you can find by network the guys who can hire you in the future. And learn new technologies. It's also work partially because the people who arrive at the conference are mostly marketing guys or developer relations guys, and they provide you basic workshops, and you still need to spend time to learn it by ourselves. So you still need to learn by yourself. It's not working. So let's start. How usually what I can recommend to prepare how organize the process of creating your ideas. I use it standard white combinator one pager. As example, you can see on the right on the right of the slide. It usually consists of one-liner: problem, product, market size, revenue model, traction, team, competitors, and financing. To be success on the hackathon and to be success in raising the grant and building the project, success project will be generate not only wasting money but also revenue. You need to answer these questions and be ready to answer this question to guys who you pitch it. It's also help you to transmit your idea to other guys and attract people to your team. So let's start from one-liner. On the right part, you see the example, and let's see on this. So good one-liner consists of the problem, solution, and the results. So the problem is identification of the problem which you're trying to solve, and usually it's related with customers which I focus on to solve this problem for. The solution is usually a description how products are going to solve this problem to customer, which you mentioned on the first part. And the result is describe the success is usually describe what kind of goods or pain points will be solved for customer, and how, and the good if you can add mechanics how you're going to earn the money from this solving the problem. So that's example. Many people struggling with answering what they do with the clarify and confidence. So it's a description of the problem. There's a too abstract many people's, but still working. The story brand one-liner is a simple format that will help people realize why they need your product and service. The story brand is a name, Simple formula, it's a description of solution, and result that people will be realize their products and service. They need the product and service. So it's an example of this formula. Creating one-liner is really important part, because if you will watch Y Combinator videos about how to pitch your ideas to investors, they have a classical formula. It's a 30-second speech, or they also name it as elevator pitch, and also starting from one-liner. The one-liner is the first touch with your investor or customers to describe what you really do, and it should attract attention of people which you're talking with, to raise interest, why they need to listen you next. So then usually going the more information about the problem. The problem could be divided to main to four types. Is financial. It's usually how what's the financial problem, or what's the kind of problem, what kind of financial goods you're going to bring to your customers. It's usually reducing cost, or help raise money, or give opportunity to raise money from some your free assets, for example. Productivity pain point. It's usually improves your time management of your customers. For example, with our solution, you will be don't waste time on the cleaning your house, for example. It's about time effectiveness. Process pain point. It's about how you're going to improve the process. It's pretty close to productivity, but it's more about the process itself, where is a where you involve it more people than just you. And support pain point is it's a problem, for example, when you're situated in a critical situation and you need some kind of some support. It could be the good example of the support pain point is a lot of startups which provide chatbots or personal assistants, etc. Then we're switching to the product. Usually description of the product strong related to the customers. Every time you should think about who are the main customers. It could be one, it could be a few. It also should connect it to the problem, and but in this point you need to be focused on how you're going to solve a problem. And please do not use the technical terms. For example, we are going to use the keybook for blah blah blah. Just remove the technical stuff and we focus on the solving of the description, what's the problem and how you're going to solve, or what the form for customer or for user will be. And of course, you need to be transparent to understand how you're going to earn money from this. One is a good. I can show you the bad example of this. We are creating ZK bridge as a product description. It's not transmits the value. It not transmits who the customers. It's not transmit what's the difference with the competitors, etc. But if you convert this product to, we are going to make a service which allows in permissionless and protected by ZK mathematics. ZK mathematics is useful to describe that you don't need to pool of validators. That help people to transfer money from one chain to other chain. And we focus, for example, on hedge funds. It shows that you focus on the big sums, or you are focusing on interoperability messaging. It means you will be focusing on the developers of DeFi cross-chain DeFi protocols. Market size. The few terms I don't want to spend much time on description because I'm not so good in market size, but this Usually, if you can calculate a total addressable market, service addressable market, service or obtainable market, is a different points which can help you to understand: is it a big market? What's the part of market you're going to cover with your service? And what kind of money you need to cover this type of market? It's usually help you to create hypothesis because at the stage when you create idea, you make a lot of predictions. And this type of research help you to understand how big is the market and how many people you need to attract and how to attract these people, what's the cost of attraction these people. And to really help you to build the market business model. It's help you to build the business model and understand from the beginning as a good project to spend time. It's in general, or it's just a too small market. It's and better to change idea a little bit, or change customers, target audit, or something like this. So it will have to prove that this idea is big enough to earn money on this. Sorry, yeah, I put some video about the description what is the market size. So use this as a because this guy is more professional in the market size stuff. Revenue model. Yeah, you should be transparent. It's one of the important stuff when you pitch idea on the hackathons, because most hackathons are focusing that after hackathon you're going to the sponsor expects that you will build the business, and it's important to tell people why your project will be profitable. And because if it will be not profitable, you can lose some motivation to spend time for nothing to building this project, and sponsors don't understand why they need to support you if you're not going to continue work on this project. And in the very early stage of the project, of course, you can make a just hypothesis how you going to earn the money, but it's good to start think about this process from the beginning, because it can be important to architecture and structure of your smart contracts or processes to be ready accept the payments or other type. Because if you build, for example, effective some tools which have for free solve the problem, but you don't put any stuff how to earn money from this solving the problem, it will be bad product first of all for you, because you will not receive the money from this. It's attraction. It's more about the after hackathon stuff. It's more about how traction is usually proof that your predictions about the solution, about target audit, or about market, about the business model make sense, because attractions is only proof that shows that you was right. The traction could be different on different stage of MVP, because MVP also could be different. It could be subscribers on your Twitter, because you provide some interesting stuff, or you provide the interesting update, and people really wait when you will be released. But in this type of traction, is really hard to understand. First of all, for yourself, that your product interested or your Twitter interesting. You should be careful with this traction. It's LOI, it's letter of intent. It's really cool stuff. Exactly for B2B project, to have letters of the potential customers who already know about your projects, who already want to buy your goods. It's a really it's much better than nothing. Of course, LOI is usually not every time a LOI converted to the deal, but it's much better than nothing. Daily active wallets. Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. It's a daily active wallets. It's some kind of abstractions that when we believe that one wallet, one user, and it's only one true characteristic, which could be getting on chain from the your DeFi protocol. So, and usually when you see the statistic of the big players like 1inch or Uniswap, they show that active wallets or how many tokens staked, how many LP tokens, etc., etc. And of course turnover. Turnover, it's also not direct. Start exactly on the early stage, but it's more important the progress of the turnover. It's a going up, it's a good sign. It's a going down or not going at all, it's a bad sign. But important that you to show a dynamic of these parameters also. And most important stuff at the beginning is because of team, because on the early stage, investors are more interested in the team. So you need to show that you are able to build the projects, you're able to understand that your product are not good enough and you make a wrong decision at the beginning, and you should show that you're ready to understand this mistake and make a pivot before that you just will be out of investor money and arrive to new grants. So you should show that you what's the way how to show it. First of all, you need be a team which have worked together for some times. So it's minimum one guys from your team should be expert in area where you're building a business. You also need to all expertise which required for this type of project. And it's very cool if you have some guys who already have success exit from the previous startups. These points are usually give advantage compared with the same team with the same product in the pitching to investors. And in crypto, people really afraid to put the real photos to the pitch decks, but we still humans, we still believe only in people which we meet in person. I have a lot of examples when we have a call and then meeting and then have one more call. It's produced totally much better results than we just have a calls without any handshake and physical activity. And it's much worse when we just talking with the guys on the call and don't show their face, and we didn't see these guys in presentation too. So it's really not bring the connection and brings the relations, because investor, you should choose investors much careful than your wife, because wife you can change and investor not sometimes no. Competitors is also important stuff. It's important to show direct and indirect competitors. The classical example of this is Airbnb, not Airbnb, sorry. There's some platform for Uberization cleaning service. For example, when you can request the cleaning for your apartment in Uber style, so in the same time or a little bit in advance. They have direct competitor is a cleaning firm which you need to book in the 1 week. You need a big apartment, so they request a lot of time for this. But the main competitor was indirect. Indirect competitor in this example is a people who clean their apartment by ourselves. So it's also important to have a direct and indirect competitors and understand who are bigger competitor and how you're going to fight with him. Shows the difference, and sometimes are faster and cheaper. Exactly, when you have a B2B business, it's not a true competitor advantage. You should be careful with this. But if there isn't any difference, you need to show, to show or describe to your potential investor and customers how how you're going to compete, how you're going to attract the users of already existing services. And also very hard to build your own business, it's very hard to build new market like it's produced by Uber. Before Uber, we haven't any aggregators of taxi. So they create a totally new market, and they spend time and money for educate people to grow this market from the beginning. And for this reason, the no competitors is usually a bad sign, because you need to be in 2 times or 3 times more experienced and with good backup by investors and experts, and very believe in your idea. Because when you don't have competitors, it usually means that the people don't need this type of service. You should be careful with this. Financing is usually last part, when you already have prepare all other slides. You understand how many money you need to prepare the time sheet about how many money for which type of activity you need to prepare. Some investors I recommend to avoid naming round, like don't name it seed one, Series A or Series B, because it's bring a labels, it's bring a expectation of the size of the round. So some people avoid this and have a good traction about it. Don't include the terms, because sometimes it's a really flexible stuff. So there isn't any there are a few best practices, but it's so flexible because as a investigation market is so more exactly on the pre-seed stage. It's really relation focused. So you can make a really different you have a really different terms compared with your competitors, with a better relation with investor or opposite. It's really good to make the investigation or milestones or money spending connect to roadmap. It's really can show that easy to show why you need this money, and that you have a plan how you're going to spend this money, that you see the risk and how you're going to manage this risk. One of the weaknesses of a lot of crypto startups, they ask money mostly for technical research, technical stuff, for developing a team, etc. I totally forgot about go-to-market and marketing stuff, or initial sales, lawyer stuff, audit stuff, etc. So it's important to include to the budgeting also this not technical stuff, also for incorporation. So how typical process of success startups looks like from my retrospective. First of all, you should make a team. You should be really good, cool professional together, which will comfortably work together. You should understand weaknesses and benefits of all team members, and how to work with these guys. I know a few teams which met on the one hackathon, and after 5 or 6 hackathon, after a year and a half, they build a strong project which are raising money. So the Pro Hackathon is a really good place to meet the team members to build the project in the future. Finding a problem is also not clear to developer guys, because they working only in technical stuff, and they think that okay, I will create this tool and it will be useful for every developers. But unfortunately it's not working in this way. So you need to use researchers. It's good idea to use already prepared research. It's good idea to create your own research, customer developing, make interviews, talking with experts. It's one of the reasons why in team you need experts in the area who work more than 10-15 years in area, and he knows the pain point of this industry and understand who are the main customers. Then we'll be creating a product hypothesis. This I'm talking before. It's about this is a problem. It's a problem for this type of customers. These customers are ready to pay this amount of money. And these customers this number and big enough, and a lot of hypotheses. And you need to prepare the way how to check this hypothesis, and what is a successful rate. What will be successfully show this hypothesis working. It's also important stuff. So it could be solved by interview, it could be solved by surveys, it could be solved by A/B testing, it could be solved with a lot of stuff. There are few, in Web3, not a lot of companies who provide this type of service, so and also painful stuff. But at the same time, it's transparent by on-chain activity, so we can use. Only after this, I recommend you to go to the hackathon, because you already have team, you have already problem, you already have hypothesis, you only need to create something technical to prove this hypothesis. And also in hackathon, you can get the first traction. First of all, you can go to the sponsor to make letter of intent. Letter of intent. You can go or use hackathon participants to, for example, mint some NFTs or make survey with or provide some other type of activity. And usually it's work really cool, because people who attract hackathons are already active, so they really like to learn something. They're really active. They're really ready to try it, and they open to any problem which will be which they are facing during the using your beta version, for example. Then usually after, when you receive the traction, you have a hypothesis, you have, for example, this type of pitch deck. Of course, you're going to raise some money, and you've successfully raised some money, you start scaling. So you get more traction, you get more features, you get more, etc., and you start just traditional loops of the agile methodology. So what to do on the hackathon? So let's imagine that we arrive with team, or we successfully find team on the hackathon, and we find the idea. So on the hackathon, you can do market research, customer development, you can build your network of the early adopters or early users. It's a good idea to prepare a list of questions and organizers to effectively work on the venue. Create a team. If you still haven't a team, it's good to create a team to the next hackathons. Create MVP or part of the MVP, or check the hypothesis that it's impossible to implement at this point, or see that the technology have a bugs and you need to improve, and the owner of the technology need to solve the problem before you're going to create MVP. Get attraction, because during the hackathon you can build, for example, some tooling which you can definitely ask to use by users or organizers, and of course learn something new. We providing workshops. You ask us in the Telegrams or Discord and other channels, and we trying to help you. And you do by the more important, you read something, you try something, and of course you need to have a fun, because it's your life, and it's too boring to spend all life on some serious shit. What to do after hackathon? It doesn't matter are you will be winner or not winner. It's only have your useless achievement in your portfolio, because from my experience, it's really not help to raise the money if you just hackathon winner. Without other stuff like strong team and traction, only winning hackathon is not bring you nothing. After hackathon, you still have a group of the people which participate. You still have a connection with the sponsor and organizer. So continue make research, continue make customer development, continue talking with the people and provide updates about your project or other project or the same project which you built on the hackathon. Also use these active guys to get attraction. And of course, spend time on the prepare new hackathon, learn new features, and make everything from the list from beginning. This is all from my side at this moment. So I really open to your questions. This was really briefly, because it's very specific by startups, because it's very not discovered area. So when we every startups is like a new startups, you only can use some common stuff and ways how to trying to solve the thing you don't know.
Okay, thank you so much, Arsenii. Sorry for mispronouncing the name on the intro there. Some really valuable information, especially on the business side of projects and products. So that was our final workshop for today. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. We will do one more day of workshops tomorrow at the same time. And just remember, if you want the latest information about ETH Riyadh or the competition, follow us on Twitter, 0xETHRiyadh. Join the official Telegram and visit ethriyadh.com. Thank you so much. We hope to see you tomorrow.